All right, welcome back to Study Prep Guys Chill Zone, everyone, or Study Prep Guys Csec. Welcome back to Study Arts. Let's do the continuation of the previous live streams. Let's gonna wait for a couple seconds for the chat to catch itself. So hopefully everyone's okay. Hopefully everyone is fine for this live stream. Hopefully you have come prepared and ready to work past papers for CSEC OA. We'll be continuing 2023 paper 2. So without further ado, let's actually just put that on screen. Just use the entire screen so it could be more easy for all. So yes, we stopped right here on the last video. We just put up my notes. We did write a bit of an essay, and if you haven't watched that live stream, you can go and watch that one right now. So it says hours work. So let's read the instructions. The rate is work week is 4 hours with a base wage of $600. So 1 week is equal or equivalent to $600, right? So 1 week is equivalent to $600, right? So any overtime is $8 an hour. Dollars an hour. So 1 week equals $600, $8 and $8 um for an overtime of 1 hour. So when we're doing something like this, we need to calculate his basic wage for a day. We need to calculate his basic wage for a day. We don't know his basic. So let's calculate his basic wage for a day. Because if you calculate the amount of money he actually has for a day, we need to put these two things on the side here if you guys see. So we have our calculators right there. So we figured that his week work for a week is $600, $8 for an overtime, which is 1 hour. So we know that days are in a week. 7 days are in a week. And as a result, we need to divide 600 by 7. So let's actually put that in a calculator. 600 divided by 7. I believe it's supposed to get in decimal format. Let me just put this thing in a good position. So 600 divided by 7, we have $85.7. $85.7. $85.7 for the so in addition, we need to calculate the amount of dollars that he has per day for overtime. So we need to add $85.7 plus the additional $8. So if we was to put that into perspective of the $8 into account, so we have 85.7. We just add plus the is just take out everything. So we have 85.7 plus the additional 8.00, and the is overtime per day. Overtime per day for day is 93.7. So that's his overtime per day, right? But that's not the answer. I just wanted to actually spend some time culminating some thoughts on that. And if you have any thoughts, you could type it in the chat below. So it says overtime hours. Overtime hours is 40 minus 6 because he's working that amount of time. So his overtime for this one here is 6. Let's use a pen. Let me just move this here down a bit. Take this out. It's quite crowded here, but I just put that number in. So overtime is six hours. So 6 hours, and then we have the $50. The $50 for that is 10 hours, 10 overtime hours. So 10 overtime hours for that. So we have deductions, pay, union dues. So they say a pay of 10% gross wage is paid by each employee. So we have to actually, so his overtime pay, that would be 8.66, right? We put this up on the screen. So 85.7 per day, right? So if it's overtime per day is 9.33, right? With the addition of the $8, right? So let's do this simplistically. 6 hours. So his average basic wage per week is 600 plus um plus the 8.00 times the 6. Hopefully you guys are seeing that on the screen. Hopefully you're understanding. So his overtime per day is $93.7. Six plus the $8, which is the overtime per hour, times the 6 because he has a deductionary value of 6 right here. So let's put that right here. Put up the calculator so you guys can see what is going on here. So as you can see, we have the 600 plus the, yeah, guys, could please be quiet. They're on stream right now, right? 600 plus the 800, not 800. That's too much. Times zero times 6. What is your answer, guys? Do you have any answers related back to the question at hand? Do you have anything you can type in the chat? So we would have an average overpay or overtime pay, which is 6.48. That would be the initial value, 648. If you have gotten that, guys, type in the chat below. $648 overtime. We need to calculate gross pay. They say we have a gross pay of 10% of gross pay. Da, 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 da. It's 10%. So you have to calculate here. We just put up the thing here so you guys could take notes. The 10% of the 648 overtime. Overtime 10% to be 10 times the 648 equals that divided subtracted, no, not subtracted, divided by the 100 initial value, and we would have 6 10% gross week, 10% gross pay. Gross pay equals 6 4.8. So we have that down. So his 10% gross pay, that would be equal to 6 to 4.8. 6 4.8. So that is that for that. So we have the 6 hours. They work 6 hours overtime. The overtime pay is 648. We did do the calculations. We worked 6 hours overtime with the addition of the $8. We actually had to multiply the 600 plus the 6 times the $8 to get the additional value of the overtime pay. For the gross pay, we calculate the 10% of the 648. And for the PAE, we have to calculate the 10%. We have to calculate the 10% of the 640, and we got that volume. Now let's move on to the pay. Uh, each employee contributes 5% to the union. All right, just thing that right here. What is the pay again? I think that's the initial value. Okay, so I think I forget something, guys. I think I was saying wrong. His overtime pay doesn't you put about the calculator. It'd be 6 hours. 6 hours times 8 times 00. You put that right in, that would be $48. His overtime pay is $48. Put that in right here. 48 dollars. If you have anything different in the chat below, don't be frightened, don't be scared. Um, so his gross pay. So we understand that overtime is 48, right? So we have this gross pay. His gross pay is $64.8. So we could put that right here, take that right here, and put that right there, right? Um, his PAE. No, that's not his. That's not his. That's not his initials. I got that incorrect. Sorry for that, guys. I really do apologize. So his gross pay is $648, right? His payee is 10% of that, right? So we have to actually add the 648 plus the payee value plus the union duties, right? Since they have to pay five per week to the union. So let's look at the payee. We did get the initial calculations for the 10% of the initial value. Um, we did be calculated. So his payee is 10% of the 64.8. Let's make sure I can do that back again. So let me show you guys how to do that. So you just have to think 648 because that's the gross pay times 100 equals that, and then you divide it by the overall 100%. No, something wrong. Something is wrong. Something has to be wrong. 648 times the 10, then divided by 100. All right, good. We have the pays, which is $4.8. Let me just put that in dollars. So the initial value of this, or the net pay, you have to subtract the 648 from the 64.8, and we will have our net pay. Just put this calculator back on the screen so you guys can see what's going on. 64.8, 64.8 minus. Nope, nope, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. I suppose I put the 648 minus the 64.8 um, equals to that minus the union fees 5.00, and then we will have a total value of 578.2. Copy that, and that will be the overall net pay. If you guys have a different answer, if you want to debate over this, it's not a problem. I'm willing to chat. The chat is open. So this is the original value, or this is the overall net pay. We'll just debug the same due process. We'll just debug the same process. All right, so that's it. So for this guy, he worked 10 hours overtime. So that will be 10 times the overtime dollars, which is $8. So that will be an initial of 10 times the 8 times 0, at 8.00. That would be an initial of $80. So his overtime is so his overtime hours is just 10. Let's just put that in right now. 10 hours. So that is his overtime things. Let's look at his overtime pay. We already knew that that is $80. So So that is $8. Let's put that right there. $80. $80 within our sign. So we make sure that we're not doing that crazy. Um, Gross pay is the $80 plus the initial of the overall payment of this. So that would be 600 plus the $80. That would be $680. This is not hard. The $680. $680 and $5, guys. The $680. Then we have to calculate the pay, which is an average of 10%, which is the 10% of the 680 or 10% of the 680 gross pay. So 680 times the 10. This will just be 60. Let me just put that in because it's common sense. This is just $68. I want to show you the whole process, but that doesn't really matter a lot. So that would be 680. Now let's calculate the 68 minus the 680 minus the 68. And from that, we have 612, right? I'll just take that value and I will put that in right now. So let's see, press this away here. Put here quite nicely. So that will be 612. So that's for that question. You could check back, revise it, make sure that you are right on that before you move on. You just wait for a couple more members to join the live. Hopefully you're doing good over there. All right, guys. Hopefully you're with me that we could continue this chat. All right, we did answer that. Let's move on to question 5. So for this question, it says, state your reason why it is important for organization to maintain accurate financial records. For the first reason, we weigh the profit to loss ratio. To accurately weigh the profit to loss ratio, understand the assets that are owned by the business and to create financial statements. So to accurately weigh the profits to loss ratio, to understand the assets that are owned by the business in order to create financial statements. You cannot create a financial statement if you do not even have accurate data to begin with. So I'd like to get that out there. You cannot create good financial statements if you do not have accurate information. If your information is incoherent, incorrect, and insensible, you cannot create financial statements. Hello there, Jimoro. Hopefully you're doing well over there. Just to give a little bit of highlight, we are doing the 2013 past paper. This is in preparation of the for the OA paper 2 for tomorrow. So hopefully you are doing well. For our objectives, we are trying to complete 2024 and 2023. I will try to do 2022 if time allows, but for the moment, we're trying to work the 2 previous years in order to like refresh your memories a bit and to in order to make that happen. So let's move on to question 5. If you missed anything, I have a previous live stream explaining all of these points. Let's move on to B. This is 5. B. Let's circle that right up here. State 3 advantages of using the Impress system to maintain the petty cash. Let me just put the Impress system on top here so you guys can see. We put up the whole screen. Put up the whole thing on the whole screen so you guys can see how an Impress system looks. me just put this on top here so you could see how an impress system is. And you could tell me some things that you have seen in the impress system. So I just like to highlight something about the impress system. Going back with the documents. So the impress system, so the impress system is created to basically account for small financial transactions in a business. It is We have an impress system and we have a cash book. A cash book is for cash transactions. However, while in the impress system or the petty cash book, there is financial statements or financial records. It does not include anything that is big. Like, for example, let me record small microtransactions in the impress system. And at the end of every month, they will reimburse an amount of financial recording. For example, you might start off the month with $5,000. At the end of that month, you will probably be left with, let's make up a figure of $2,500. But at the end of that month, they will reimburse the financial accounting statement to actually make up that account to $5,000 again. So while you start off with $5,000 per month, at the end of that month, um, they will reimburse that $5,000. That's what the impress system is. It is a form of accounting information that records microtransactions in a business. So let's put this right up. So the impress system um, makes it easier just put this thing up so you guys can see what's going on here. This is some of our notes on the previous vid. So let's look at the impress system, right? First of all, I like to really put out the definition of what the impress system actually is. Put that right up right here. Bring out my little notes to the impress system. So as I said before, the impress system only regards microtransactions in a business. It does not regard anything that is too big or any prolifications like that. That, of course, it's in the cash book. In the cash book, they record more bigger cash transactions. In the impress system, they record microtransactions. So there's a big differentiation between the impress system and the cash book. While the cash book and the impress system is similar, the main difference is the amount of or the longevity of how much cash transaction it could actually hold. So while the impress system regards microtransactions, the cash book highlights or it actually records bigger transactions. So that's the main difference between the cash book and the impress system that I really want to get out there. So without further ado, let's actually answer it. So it makes it easier for cash accounting information. So it would be very strenuous for you to record every single little microtransactions and even big transactions in a cash book. That's why we created the impress system. And another reason why we utilize the impress system is due to its efficiency, due to its general proficiency. All right, so it's due to its general proficiency, right? It's more proficient, it's more easier to utilize than compared to the account information in the cash, right? So it's due to its general proficiency. And then the final point, let's just read out the question. State three advantages of using the impress system to maintain the petty cash book. Accurate account information. Accurate account information. So back to the topic of accurate accounting information. So let me just put this to a good position so you guys could see. Let me just think it so you could see it properly in the notes. Copy that and put that right over here. And guys, if I'm going too slow, just tell me in the comment below if you understand what's going on. I really want to make sure everyone understand what is going on. So in the impress system, it makes it easier for cash accounting information to occur. Secondly, due to it has a general proficiency. It makes the efficiency, its efficiency generally is faster compared to a cash book because doing everything in a cash book might take a lot of time, but that's not the case within an impress system. Accurate accounting information, right? So let's move on to the important question. Could you see this properly? Might have to change the angle. So we have a cash book here. So let's look at the petty cash book. This is an example of a petty cash book. I really want to take this into account, right? I think they want us to balance carry on. Let's actually just do this because I know it's too difficult. Let's pull up the calculators. They want us to balance it, so we'll do that. So over here is already balanced, and this is an example of the impress system. So let's just put in the information. Something's going on here. Let's create a new thing for this. So we have CBI. I don't know what that exactly stands for. But the only thing we have to do, guys, is just calculate going down, calculate the values going down, calculate all the values going down. That's all you really need to do. And then you need to tally the total right here, and then do the balance carry down. Right? It's not too difficult. So what's up? That right here. For some reason, I got to this properly. Calculate like it's not working for some reason. All right, let's make sure that we could get this calculator to work. Might have to go streamer because of this. Let's hope that does not happen. Let me just use Excel and finish this. Okay. I have to bring out Excel, but hopefully it will work. Hopefully everything will be all right because I don't know what's going on here with the data. All right. Let me just copy this. Give me a second, guys. Let me copy this information. Okay, work this and we'll call it a day for the stream. Or we could come back to this on the stream because something so now with my calculator. I really want to have a trusty calculator right here, so we'll just use that. Right? We'll just use. So, anyways, this is 50, 95. Let me see, 50 plus the 5. That will be 145. So 145, you know, that is 16. 16. 95 plus the 50, that is 145. We'll just make sure. Because the 95, that will be 145. See that? 5, 11, 5, that'll be 16, 16 plus the 20, that'll be 36. Then we have the 13, 13 plus the 15 plus the 16 plus the 19. That will be $63. So we have our data in. Now we just have to tally our total, which is an average of 63 plus the 36, 145 plus the 16 plus the 145 again, 45 again, plus 18 plus 40 plus the 52 plus the 50. Then we have a total of 565. 565, that would be your total for this. So we just put that data right here. I don't think there's any balance carried. Yes, I believe that's it. Um, I'll come back to this, but this is the total right now. Just put that here, right? I'll come back. Chat, tell me if you see anything that I forgot to do here. But the total is 565. The value is $565. So let's move on. I believe we have to answer these two. So the customer service clerk of the operation department is one of the first force that interface with clients. State your duties that with the customer service clerk should undertake to ensure the customers remain satisfied. Um, Ask questions related to what the customers need. Secondly, good and positive attitude. So that's some things that they could really put out there. Just put out this thing properly. Alright, so ask question related to what the customers need, good and positive attitudes. You need a good positive attitude and good conversational skills. Let's read about the actual. So the customer service clerk of the operations department is one of the first four face with clients. State your duties with the customer service clerk should undertake to ensure customers remain satisfied. Um, you just sort get up here. Just- We're on our final questions. This was a two-part. It was a two-part video, guys. If you do not understand concept, you could go back and watch the last video so you can get a full dive into what is going on. All right, let's go back. So some of the things that are needed by the customer service. Some ways that they could ensure that the customers are satisfied or remain satisfied are they have to have good conversational skills and a people person kind of vibe. Good and positive attitude. They don't need to be arrogant. If you're arrogant to a customer, they're likely to unlikely to return. Ask questions relating to what the customers need. So some of the things that they could do aside from that is resolving issues. Understand what issues do the customers have with the brand that we are selling. Secondly, processing orders. Ask them what they want and act accordingly. Handling complaints. Listen to their complaints and try to address those complaints. Delivering exceptional experiences. Make sure that the customers feel satisfied with what products they buy. Stage three function of the operations department. Let's just think of just put it right up here. Let's look at that. Operations department. All right. Supply stream. They'll have a lot of functions. Let's just put functions up on the notes. Just put that in a separate column. Functions of the operations departments. So first of all, one their main function is to inventory management, as we said before, inventory management, supply chain. I just put two supply chain management, logistics. Logistics is documents relating to the complex inner workings of the environment. So they have a lot of responsibilities, including quality management and strategic planning. Just put that up so you could take note of that. Just put up one more, quality management. All right, so we have functions of the operations department right here. I just copy that, take that out, and put that right. So functions of the operation department include inventory management, supply chain management, logistics, which is the complex inner workings of the organization. We have quality management are some of the functions of the functions of the operating department. All right, we're reaching in. So Chempro manufactures industrial chemicals. The operation department of Chempro observed that employees were not adhering to the safety and operational guidelines in the handbook. Assume that you are a clerk in the operations department. Suggest three procedures that should be followed each of the following statements. Staff is discarding empty bottles and cans in waste paper bins in the office. So they want us to offer solutions to these statements. Let's just take a bit here. All right, so we're back. So assume that you are a clerk in the operation department, so there's three procedures that should be followed in each of the following statements. It is advised that are disposing improperly in the environment be held accountable for their practical behaviors. So yeah, sure that is clear properly. So yes, this is something that because you're putting yourself in the position of the operations department clerk. This is something that you usually say. It is advised the person that are disposed of those improperly in the departments be held accountable for questions of these key essential behaviors. Staff in the general office were affected by the fumes of infiltration, experienced challenges with their property should be dismantled temporarily for immediate repairs due to the fact that health hazards are impending dangers to the worker. So, the factory should be dismantled temporarily for immediate repairs due to the fact that health hazards are impending dangers to the workers of our local estate. So we did answer those. Let's move on to our final question. So it says the staff working in the factory keeps slipping and falling. Workers, short is the embedded. All right, good. And that is it. Anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. The two videos that I did make recently on CJ preparations, it was on 2013. Just make sure it is on 2013. You guys could be already with that. Yes, it is 20 January 2023. And if you guys have any comments relating to it, I am willing to answer it before 6. You could type in the comments below and I will answer it. And I will address it on the final video for the 2024 paper 2 on January and June, because the paper might be more related to June than January because they usually bring documentation. So just to note, we will be doing that later. So anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something, and see you guys in the next video.